Everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over the NBA slate for this evening, early look. Bobby's not going to be with me today, so what you get is probably a much shorter preview, which you might consider as good or bad. I am going to go through game by game, but I really don't have a lot of tremendous recommendations today. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to bore you with the plays that are just not going to show up. I'm going to go through the games and highlight the good plays, and with the normal disclosures that a lot can change between now and lock. And I encourage you to look for updated projections closer to 5:30, 6 o'clock p.m. And if I manage to go live tonight at 6 o'clock, you're definitely going to want to be there for that, because I'll be able to incorporate at least most of the injury changes that do show up. So fortunately, right off the bat, we have what's probably the juiciest game. There are a couple of okay games, and a couple, I have to say that DraftKings did a pretty nice job pricing this whole slate. I mean, very, very few kind of standouts, but everything is relative to everybody else. So you're going to play lineups and you're going to get an edge, but it's not as if there's incredible lock smash plays throughout the course of the slate. Let's just start with Minnesota, Charlotte, because I do think this is where a lot of the value lies here. And we're going to start right off with, which is rating right now is the best overall play on the slate as far as points per dollar, and that's going to be Malik Beasley with what's his name, with Beverly out. It's just opening up like all kinds of usage in minutes for Minnesota today. And the most direct beneficiary is going to be Malik Beasley. It's probably going to be high owned, but this is in a slate which may be bereft of value to some degree. You're going to want somebody like this. I do have like 3 or 4 guys in this price range that you can try to go to, but this is clearly the best one. And then I also have the other Minnesota guys is rated really, really strongly also, and that would be the usual suspects. That would be Cat. It would be Anthony Edwards, who again remains small forward eligible, which is usually pretty useful, and then D'Angelo Russell, who remains point guard and shooting guard eligible, which is very useful as well. So all 4 of these guys rate to be really strong. Do you need to? Can you play all 4 of them in one lineup? It's kind of difficult on a 15-game or whatever 12-game slate to recommend that, but you can play multiples. You can play 2, you can play 3. Hey, maybe you can play 4, especially when you do have some Charlotte run backs, which are relatively fair. They're pricey though, but they're fair. You have LaMelo, who actually rates to be a good play at 10-3. Then you have Miles Bridges, who rates to be a pretty strong play at 7,800. And then if you want to drop down a little bit, you could play, you do Terry Rozier. He looks to be pretty good. And when you see how little I like the rest of the slate, you'll realize why I'm highlighting a lot of guys here. So Rozier I like. Where's Oubre? Oubre is a good price. Cody Martin is a good price. Let me just find Oubre for a second. What position to give him nowadays? Oubre 4,200. He rates to be a good play as well. So there's a lot from this game. Just to kind of reiterate, I like all 4 of those guys from Minnesota: Beasley, Edwards, D'Lo, and Cat. On the Charlotte side, at the top, Bridges and Ball I think are strong plays, and Rozier is a good secondary play, and then Oubre and Martin as well. So if you want to put a number up, you could just flat out stack this game and just be kind of done with it if you want. I might actually do that. We'll just see what these other later games look like. Next one, Phoenix Knicks. I really have nothing. I like Devin Booker on the Phoenix side, but the Knicks side is really, really ugly as far as projections go. And for those of you that are not aware, I mean, I'm basing this off of my own customized aggregate weighted projections that are on truedfs.com for premium members only. I don't know what deals we're offering nowadays. I think it's 20 a month and you get a month free. I really don't know. Just go to the site and they'll be able to tell you what it is. But that's what I'm basing all this off of. Again, so nothing really on the Knicks. Phoenix, I like Devin Booker a little bit. Chicago against Orlando. You're getting this Orlando value could clear this for a minute, right? Orlando value showing up again. They really haven't adjusted these prices for Cole Anthony continuing to be out. And at the front court, you're still going to have Wendell Carter Jr. as a strong play. You're going to have Mo Bamba as a strong play. And then also Franz Wagner remains a good play as well at 4,300. So I like all three of those guys. If Terrence Ross comes back, I don't know what I have from him. I have him as questionable. He sat out Wednesday. We're just going to have to see. I mean, if he plays at 3,800, I mean, he's pretty strong. And if he plays, then obviously that's going to take a little bit away from Wagner, but not to say that Wagner becomes a bad play. But I'll throw Ross in the mix if, in fact, he plays. But the front court of Carter and Bamba, they make a lot of sense here as well. Chicago side seems very fairly priced. I really don't have too much over there between Levine and DeRozan and all these guys. They moved Caruso up to 5,200. So this rate's to be probably the side to avoid as far as fantasy goes, at least. Toronto, Indiana. Nothing really for me on Toronto. And on Indiana, I do like Malcolm Brogdon. He remains a little bit too cheap for his production at 7,500. He's projecting very well. So I do like him. But everybody else is really just kind of off my list. Atlanta, Memphis. Nothing really for me on the Atlanta side, at least at first look. On the Memphis side, I do like John Morant as a legit spend up at 9,600. And then you go all the way down the list of prices. I like Brandon Clark at 3,500. So if you want to play one or both of those, you could do that. They don't take away from each other's production much. And although I don't have much to run back on the Atlanta side, you can just play these as one-offs. It's really not a big deal. As a matter of fact, the only game that I really identified as kind of a stackable game is that first one, is that Minnesota-Charlotte game. Okay. At Washington, Oklahoma City. Same type of deal. The value is going to come from the Oklahoma City side, and I wish there was something good on the Washington side to run back, but Beal and all these other guys seem pretty fairly priced, so I'm not going to be in a huge rush to play them. With respect to the OKC guys that I mentioned, we'll go right back to the guys that we've been playing, I think, and that would be Josh Giddy, small forward eligible, which of course always seems to help. You have Lou Dort, who's also small forward eligible, so those guys can both be played together real easily. You have a new guy to my list at least. That'd be Anthony Wiggins. I don't even know what position he plays. Let's take a look. Anthony Wiggins, shooting guard at 3K. He's popping a little bit. He's never put up a fantasy point day, which will make you happy. But I guess at 26 minutes, you're going to have to take it, you're going to have to respect that. So Wiggins is showing up as a value as well. And then Darius Baisley, who does show, that he can perform. He shows up as a value as well. So you have 4 OKC guys garnering, usage because Shea remains out. So I think all 4 of those guys look to be sufficiently in play. Again, I don't really have much of a run back on the Washington side, but that's the way it goes sometimes. All right, Boston, San Antonio, very, very awful game as far as tonight's slate is concerned. Don't like anything on the Boston side. On the San Antonio side, I think Pirtle's pretty good at 5,700, and you can pay all the way up for DeJounte Murray. And hopefully you're all used to the fact that this is his price, because look at this. I mean, he gets 54, 59, there's one off game, but 60, 60. And this is what 10K players are supposed to do. And he's been performing like a 10K player. So he's very fair at 9,400. So I like him, and I like Pirtle in this game. Nothing really from the Boston side. Okay, Denver, Milwaukee. I'll believe that Jokic is playing when he actually plays. Let's see the most recent stuff. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous, right? They say game time decision questionable, and I speculated that his wrist injury was worse than people thought like 4 games ago. Not that I get paid for that, not that that made me any money, but wrist injuries are tough. And if it's in fact a break and not a sprain, which I suspected 4 games ago, then he's going to be out for several months. But again, that's just me totally speculating on life history for me. But if he plays, great play. Giannis, 12-2, tough price to pay, but you can get to both these guys. You could do it. I mean, let's say Jokic plays and you feel as though he is fully healthy, which I would be sufficiently in doubt of, if you want to know the truth. But you could just jam in some of those Minnesota guys I discussed and some of those OKC guys I discussed and make a lineup like this work. It's going to be really difficult to get this home for you, though. I mean, you're going to need 60 out of both of these guys, which, I mean, could happen. I'd say probably will happen, but you'll need those 60 out of the both of them, and then make your 4,300 per man work. And what you're also going to need is all these mid-range guys to fail, right? So you're going to need Edwards, D'Lo, these types of guys. Booker, I mentioned him, right? Brogdon, like those guys can really put up big ceilings here. And if you just waste all your salary on playing a Jokic, Giannis lineup, you're really putting a lot of pressure on yourself being right. Not only those 2 spots, but all your value plays need to kind of get there. So yeah, they both look like strong plays. It's going to be very difficult to play them both, though. New Orleans, Utah. Speaking of good mid-range plays, I do like both of the good high-range, mid-range plays from Utah, that being Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. I like them both. And I don't really like much anything else. I don't really like anything on the Utah side, aside from what I mentioned, and nothing from the New Orleans side is really popping for me either. So Gobert and or Mitchell, and that's pretty much it from this game. Portland, Golden State. Sadly, I don't really like anything from the Portland side. Back in the day when Golden State just ran up and down the court, didn't play defense, this game could have been like a marquee fantasy matchup. But Golden State, I believe, still ranks #1 in defensive efficiency. And they've become not exactly the greatest fantasy team to target against. So I'm not going to play Lillard. I'm not going to play McCollum. I mean, the closest thing I could come up with is Powell, maybe. And I wonder if this is, no, I don't think this is really a Nurkic spot. Maybe it is, though. Anyway, Golden State, I like Curry. I mean, obviously, Curry is a good play. Portland doesn't play any defense at all. And he's 11-4, too. So you have him at 11-4. You have Giannis at 12-2. You have Jokic. I actually think that maybe, I don't even know who the best play is there between those 3 studs. But again, playing 2 of them is going to be tough. But I do think that Curry is a good play. So, if you don't like Giannis for whatever reason, you don't like Jokic or he's out or something like that, then, Curry's totally fine. And by the way, if Jokic is in fact out, once again, it would be back to Aaron Gordon and Will Barton and Jeff Green and JaMychal Green, et cetera, et cetera. And then you get to the last game, which is Sacramento at LA, and it's another kind of yawner for me, at least with respect to fantasy. I have Harrison Barnes, who's a guy I never like to play anyway, as like the only guy that's viable in the whole game. And when you get a situation like that, probably not going to play too much of this. So I went through, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what is it, 11 games, something like that. And the fact of the matter is that, at least at first glance, there's not a lot of games that look really, really juicy, except for that first one. You have sides which are really juicy. Like you have the OKC, the Orlando side. You have the OKC side. But you don't have a real stackability there, which is fine. Again, we're not even sure that stacking games is proper anyway. That theory is not exactly been confirmed or denied. But assuming that you can, and it's a lot more fun to do, you probably want to do it with the Minnesota Charlotte game. That's probably what I'm going to do. Like if nothing dramatic changes between now and then, I'll put a Minnesota Charlotte stack together, throw it down, say, okay, I'll have some screenshots early, and you guys can come and get me. You guys want to go play Curry? You guys want to play, Giannis and Jokic? Totally chilled. Hey, and it's tough to fade those guys, but that's where I would start probably. Maybe the Minnesota Charlotte thing would be my initial recommendation, with Orlando's, with OKC's, things like that, to generate the value needed. But I did mention Brogdon, strong play, Booker, okay play, Ja and Brandon Clark should good value too, Gobert and Mitchell. So there are things I like, but I think the Minnesota Charlotte thing would be the place to start. One last thing I would mention, I'm not going to go through all of FanDuel. I'll let my projections kind of speak for themselves there, but I would be remiss to not point out a couple of discrepancies. You have Cat at 8,800 over there, which is pretty juicy, I have to say. And then you got, well, that's because the center position in general, you have Jonas Valanciunas at 7,200. Wow. What is he on DraftKings? Is he 2,000 more? Let me see. Almost. Wow. So that's 2 bits of strong value there, and you have to, and neither are power forward eligible, so you have to pick one. You probably should pick one of those. Even Vooch at freaking 7,600. Wow, so much strong center value over there. There's no way I could play Jokic over there with so much of that other value out there, I think. All right, that will do it. Hopefully Bobby will be back for Monday. I'm sure he will. And I should be able to go live for at least a little while at 6 today. If so, join me for that for the last look. But until then, hopefully this helps.